Hi everyone and welcome to this lesson. Today we're going to learn how to draw linear functions. Now a linear function is in the form of y equals mx plus c or fx is equal to mx plus c. Now the thing that you have to remember is that the x is always to the power of 1 and that is a linear function. Now to draw a linear function we need 2 points that we can connect. Now the easiest 2 points that we can find is to get the y-intercept as well as the x-intercept. Now why are they the important ones? Because we learned in our previous lesson that if we want the y-intercept or if we have a point on the y-intercept, well it's basically a point on the y-axis, and on the y-axis we didn't have to move left or right, so our x-coordinate will be a 0. So we already know one of the coordinates. Similarly, if we want the x-intercept, well, it's a point on the x-axis, and on the x-axis we didn't have to move up or down from the origin, so our y-coordinate is a 0. So again, we know immediately one of the coordinates. Now let's look at an example. Now here we are given fx is equal to x. Now this is a linear function because it's x to the power of 1, the gradient is a 1, and then we have the y-intercept which is plus 0. But let's have a look at how we can draw it algebraically. Well, we are going to have to calculate the y-intercept. Now to get the y-intercept, we are going to make our x-coordinate equal to 0. So in the place of this x-coordinate, we're going to put a 0. And if we put 0 in x's place, our y is immediately also equal to 0. So our x is a 0 and our y is a 0. And when we have the coordinates 0 and 0, we're on the origin. And there it is. Now we also want the x-intercept. Now to get the x-intercept, we're on the x-axis. And on the x-axis, we make our y-coordinate equal to 0. So in the place of our y-coordinate, we're going to put a 0. And if we put a 0 into y's place, x is immediately also equal to 0. So our x-coordinate is a 0 and our y-coordinate is a 0. And again, that is on the origin. This creates a unique problem because we only have one dot to connect. So how do we know how steep we should draw this line? Well, we are just quickly going to find one more point by choosing our own coordinates. So I'm just going to choose my own x-coordinate as a 1. Now if I make this x a 1, our y will also be a 1. So that means 1 and 1. And that dot is right there. 1 is my x, and then we also have a y-coordinate of 1. So now we've got 2 dots and we can connect them easily. There we go. And we know we are correct because this line from left to right is upward sloping. It should be like that because this gradient is a 1. It's a positive 1. So it means from left to right we're upward sloping. Now let's look at an easier example actually. So gx is another function and it's equal to minus 2x plus 4. Now to draw this function, well, we basically want the y-intercept. To get the y-intercept, that is a place on the y-axis, we make our x-coordinate equal to 0. So in the place of this x, we're going to put the 0. So there it is. And minus 2 times 0 is 0, plus 4 is 4. So our y-coordinate is a 4. So our x is a 0 and our y is a 4. And that means that this coordinate point is right up here, and there it is. Okay, got it? Now, we also need the x-intercept. Now the x-intercept is where this function is going to go through my x-axis. So to get the x-intercept, we make our y-coordinate 0 because on the x-axis our y is always a 0. So in the place of our y, we're going to put a 0, and there it is. So 0 is equal to minus 2x plus 4. We take this constant to the other side. It becomes a minus 4 equals minus 2x. And then we will say minus 4 divided by the coefficient, which is minus 2, and our x-coordinate is a 2. So our x is a 2 and our y is a 0 because again we're on the x-axis. So that means we go 2 to the right and we didn't move up or down, so that is where our dot is. Now we've got 2 dots, we connect them, and there is our straight line drawn. Easy, right? Now we know we are correct because this gradient is minus 2, so this blue line from left to right will be downward sloping because the gradient is a negative value. Okay, got it. Now let's go and look at another example. Now in this example, we want to draw 5x plus 2y is equal to 10. Now the first thing that I can see is that this function is not in the form of y equals mx plus c. Now the thing that we can do is we can either rewrite it in the form of y equals mx plus c, but because we want to draw it, it's not necessary, because we can still see that this function is a linear function because it's x to the power of 1. We just don't know the gradient because it's not in the form of just a y that is equal to mx plus c. Okay, so this is in a different form, but we still know it's a linear function. So what we can do is to draw it, we just need the y-intercept. And to get the y-intercept, we make our x equal to 0, because on the y-axis our x value is always 0. So in the place of this x, we're going to put a 0, and we've got 5 times 0 plus 2y equals 10. So 5 times 0 is 0, so we've got 2y equals to 10, 10 divided by 2, and y equals 5. So our coordinates will be an x, which is 0, and our y, which will be a 5. And we will find that up here, and there is our dot. Easy, right? Now we need another dot to connect our straight line with, so we have to find the x-intercept, the place where our straight line goes through our x-axis. And on our x-axis, our y is always equal to 0. So in the place of this y, we're going to put the 0. So we've got 5x plus 2 times 0 equals 10. So 2 times 0 is 0, so we've got 5x equals to 10, and 10 divided by 5 gives us a 2. So x is equal to 2, so our x-coordinate is a 2, while our y-coordinate is a 0. And we can find this dot right there, because it's 2 units to the right of the origin, and we didn't have to move up or down because we're on the x-axis. So there's our 2 dots. Let's connect them. There we go. And there is our straight line. Now we know we are correct because if we rewrite this entire function, you will see that the gradient will actually be negative. And because we have a negative gradient, the line must be downward sloping from left to right. Okay, so I hope you could follow, and see you next time. Bye.